The sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beasts wheel to wheel around the hallowed ground. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet, the perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series presented by Next Level Racing starts now. As the Lionheart Retro Series heads into the final stages of 2022, a new challenger has emerged. Sean Campbell has burst through with 2 consecutive wins on the road courses, but today is a totally different beast. It's the second half of a unique doubleheader that takes the Lotus 79s to the land of the rising sun. Welcome back to Motegi. Welcome to the ButtKicker Twin Wing 175, presented by Next Level Racing. Hello everyone and welcome back to racespottv and ESTV for coverage of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be rejoined in the racespottv commentary booth by the one and only DJ Clark. But let's dive straight into our Next Level Racing pre-race show, because after an exciting race on the road course here at Mobility Resort Motegi, as it is now referred to, DJ, we head to a unique oval where 12 months ago, it's fair to say, there is still some lingering trauma from the events of the race here.
There certainly are plenty of cautions that were brought out last time around, and this time around we're hoping for a little bit of a better run there as we take a look at the schedule, where we've been, where we're going, closing in on the end of the season. Yeah,
final third kicked off just a week ago, and we'll have spurts of action, but plenty of separation as well. The series schedule brought to you by Next Level Racing. Road course oval, road course oval, road course oval. That's how we're finishing things off. Next time out, 3 weeks from today, we head to Montreal before a trip to another short track at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. But of course, a very interesting challenge up in store for us today. Let's talk to you, about your Next Level Racing driver standings. And DJ and I, when we were talking before we went on air, it was kind of the realization that at this point in the championship, with races winding down, with the drop weeks playing out as they are, it's consistency that will carry Mike Rasmus from this point to a championship.
It certainly is. Rasmus just needs to be able to focus here on getting good, solid top 5s. Podiums are great, but if he can get those top 5s, get maybe a top 3 here and there, continue on his winning ways, and just continue to score points, that means he's going to close in closer and closer and put the proverbial hand on the trophy.
It's close in the battle for second as it stands right now. Matt Taylor in the fight for the championship in the Lionheart Speedway Series, only 1 point clear of David Siro, with Michael O'Brien breathing down there next as well. But with the contender and Sean Campbell having emerged, points very much will be struggling on road courses, with Campbell expected to be up at the front. It switched around a little bit in the HyperX team standings, though, with Graphics LC Motorsports jumping back in front of the Madworks Motorsports teams. The two have been the class of the field, and while Raven Lavoie sit in no man's land, watched the battle for fourth on back as well. But DJ, after Graphics LC started 1, 2, and 3 at Homestead, Miami, it's been a fun fight with Madworks Motorsports and the crew there.
Yeah, it certainly has. And remember, after Miami, we were talking about that this was going to be graphics season to be able to do that. They had a little bit of a mid-season slump, dropping off there a little bit as the season went along, but now seeing themselves back out on top by just over 25 points in the team's championship. That is almost next to nothing, but it's going to be very, very close running from here on out. Keep an eye on that team's championship.
Yeah, remember, you have 3 drivers in a team, so 3 shots in the barrel, but in races as chaotic as these ovals tend to be, you lose one very quickly, things start to stack up against you. Rookie standings, well, David Rodriguez, a partial rookie, a half season in 2021 where he saw him take a victory in Iowa in dramatic fuel-saving circumstances, but it is now an RSR by ButtKicker 1 and 2, with Marius Valioka starting to live up to the potential and the hype that we built him up to have at the start of this season. Luke Daniels, Rodrigo Munoz, and Luis Gonzalez Nunez, round out the top 5 in what is a very strong rookie class. But we turn our attention over to the Gomez Sim Industries series details. It is season 6 of this Lionheart Retro Series, in year 9 of the Lionheart Racing Series. We're campaigning a car designed to conquer Grand Prix courses around the world, but we take this Lotus 79 around America to the ovals and the road courses, but also crisscrossing the globe to some of the gems available on iRacing. Cash and prizes total just over $7,000, with our champion walking away with a Next Level Racing GT track cockpit, as well as a Moser Racing direct drive wheelbase and Formula steering rim. Of course, one final Triple Crown race left to play. The final double points race at Auto Club will settle it all. We'll crown a new champion in both the drivers and the team standings. But let's talk about this race and the second part of a doubleheader at Motegi as we talk you through the Moser Racing
racing event details, because it's a fascinating race where passing can be difficult. But starting from 8th has been lucky. It's won twice in the 4 races we've had so far at this track. However, the front row has won the other 2 times. Those 2 times ended under caution, and potential history is on the line here, DJ, as Matt Taylor looks to go 3 wins on the bounce at the Motegi Oval and claw back some ground in the championship.
Yeah, he's going to be hoping to be able to do that, and obviously taking the race win last time out in that caution-riddled race that we have. The best way, I think, for Taylor to really be able to do this well is going to be qualify on pole and hug the white line around this circuit. That is the preferred way to go around here, Arjuna.
You say caution filled. We only had 5 cautions last year. The most we've had 8 back in Season 3. So it was more just the one big caution when we tried to go 4-5 wide. Had to find out the hard way that it was not a good idea. Closest margin of victory also back in Season 3. Just 900ths of a second. It is inside the top 25 closest finishes in series history. Historic facility. Motegi, of course, built by Honda as it looked to focus and bring American open wheel racing to this part of the world. A unique road course that cuts underneath the oval, but an X-shaped oval just over 1.5 miles in length, 10 degrees of banking, and at least in an Indy car, you're almost flat to the floor through turns 1 and 2, and then on the anchors into 3 and 4. It's a unique challenge, and DJ, after experiencing this last year and looking on course for a top 5, what are the challenges drivers have to face here today?
Well, one of the things that they're really going to struggle with around here, Arjuna, is building a rhythm. It can be particularly tricky to find that around here. This isn't like a homestead where you're flat out all the way around. As you said, when you dive down into 3, you've got to be able to spot your brake marker. And when you're running in clean air, that brake marker is pretty easy to find. But when you're running in traffic and the often 2-3 wide that we see around this circuit, that gets a lot trickier. And being able to time that exactly right of when you get on the binders, when you lift off the throttle, very, very difficult to do.
And so we take a look at the track for the very first time from up above. There's a go-kart track just in shot as well. It's a fun facility. Unfortunately, the oval damaged by an earthquake back in, I think it was 2011. So the final race that IndyCar hosted here was on the road course. So much history around this facility. But with just about 2 minutes left in practice, we take a look at the time sheets, and I was saying that we don't want, maybe, to see Sean Campbell at the front of the field again, but somehow he seems to figure out this oval stuff as well. It is an RSR by ButtKicker 1 and 2 with Rodriguez in second provisionally.
Yeah, looking pretty good there up at the top of the charts, but once again, this is all going to switch around here. In practice, we've seen a lot of these drivers working themselves around here in a pack, trying to feel what that draft is going to be like. When we get into qualifying, it's going to be solo qualifying, and that's really a different beast in feeling out this track, as we said, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see that order shuffle around here a little bit.
A couple of drivers availing themselves of pit lane entry practice. We're doing 113 laps here today in the Land of the Rising Sun. Works out to just over 175 miles with a fuel window estimated around 40 laps. So keep that in mind. Hopefully we get a couple of green flag cycles of pit stops. David Sira up in the top 5 in the championship. He currently sits 3rd. That's a late entry into pit lane, and well, he just about makes it work.
Yeah, just about makes it work, but you got to be careful, as we talked about over the course of this series many, many times. No pit lane speed limiter here in these cars, so you've got to be on it on your own. We watch here on board. This is going to be great to be able to see that braking marker coming in here. You want to jump onto the binders there, about the 100-meter board or so, lift it off. You can go a little bit flatter out if you run wide there, but that's not the fastest line around the corner because of the way that it runs.
Heard the downshift as well. You'll be working through the gears. Taylor, Nathan practice right now in the number 8 MadWorks Motorsports machine. Will finish up this practice session and look forward as the driver with a slight target on his back has only led 33 laps here over the course of his series history, but leading laps when it counts is all that you really need. So we get ready to go for qualifying. We throw 5 minutes up on the board, and we give drivers a maximum of 2 laps and the track to themselves to figure this one out. As always, the pressure gets underway as go fast time begins to build. And in terms of building in qualifying. Sometimes we talk about sacrificing lap 1 to make lap 2 the best it can be. DJ, what are we looking at when it comes to that?
Well, because you've got to jump on the binders coming through 3 and 4, you don't necessarily have to worry about that nearly as much. I think here both of these laps are going to be very, very crucial as we watch there. A little bit of weaving, trying to get the tires up to temperature. I do think you may want to take your first lap here as a little bit of a banker. Just try to get one into the books there that's going to be relatively competitive, and then absolutely go for broke on that second lap.
We ride on board with Taylor and just watch him still weaving, not coming all the way down to the inside of turn 1, so very much sacrificing. Remember as well, burning fuel. It's not just the bias-ply nature of the tires that helps these cars go faster as the run goes on, but the fact that they become proverbial rocket ships as the fuel burns out and becomes significant when we talk about potential overcuts in pit lane strategy. But that's for the race itself, for the 113 laps. Here will come Taylor to get lap 1 on the board. A handful of drivers out there, only one end-of-line penalty to talk about, and it is the championship leader, Mike Rasmas. Reagan will set the provisional benchmark with a 31.7. Munoz beats him, but 6/10 slower for Taylor. He's got some time to find.
Yeah, I got some time to find here, but as we saw there, Taylor doing that weaving, I think that is going to compromise his lap time. This is going to be the money lap here, diving down into turns 1 and 2, taking that good lane around there, coming back out through 3 and 4 right now. Let's see what he is at the line.
31.7 to beat. It's a 31.4. It's 3/10 quicker, and while Munoz and Reagan may improve, they won't improve to that mark. It will be Taylor. Sirra rips it away, though. He goes with a 31.35 to the top of the board.
And how many times have we talked about this? The oval pace seeing here out of this Raven Lavoie Motorsports team, and Sirra in particular. There's a reason why he's so up in the standings. Great run there for him.
Craig Forsyth very slow on lap 1, but what will lap 2 be as Danny Roberts goes 8th? Forsyth, can he find a 31.5? No, it's a 31.7, so he'll be about 4/10 off the pace. We've got a big discrepancy through the field so far. Danny Roberts will build on his second lap, and it does seem as though that second lap is the one that you want to target, DJ.
Yeah, it does look that way. Robert's going to be hugging that low line here. Good line coming out of 3 and 4. We've got a lot of drivers waiting here as Robert's going to come across the line there. That's going to be good enough for 7th place. But we've got a lot of drivers waiting to come out onto the track, maybe hoping that it's going to cool down a little bit. Currently 106 degrees Fahrenheit right now, track surface.
And it will cool down, and you can tell by mostly cloudy that there is the potential for cloud cover to play a factor. So do watch out for that. 16 drivers with times on the board. Guyon jumps to 4th, so 2 of the Raven Lavoie Motorsports machines in the mix. That's important. What can David Rodriguez do? Can he back up his teammate Sean Campbell, who sits 3rd as it runs right now? Series organizer George Anzaldo to 9th. Rodriguez with a 31.5 will jump up to 6th, but it's Nunez, newly minted race winner just this past Monday, that jumps to 4th.
Yeah, he's going to be up there. Trevor Malone able to jump up into 9th. Here comes the watchman, Mark Cohn, coming across the line to put his first time down on the board, a 32.1. Not going to be a great time there. Going to be in the back of the pack, but he's got one more to do.
Remember, he won 2 of the Triple Crown races in 2021. Paul Jenkins up to 7th. He also ran well this past Monday in the Lionheart Speedway Series race at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Chris Fowler in the Madworks Motorsports car gets up into 6th. Crucial when it comes to the HyperX Teams Championship, but here comes the Watchman down through turns 3 and 4 for the final time in qualifying with 50 seconds left to play. It's a 31.35, that's the benchmark. Tyler Graf to 9th, Cohn with a 31.5, it's only good enough for 4th.
All right, but that's still going to be up in prime position to maybe be able to make some moves going forward. I think a lot of these drivers are hopefully going to bide their time here at about 4th through 10th is what I would anticipate them doing if you're not able to be on pole position.
Think about this, though. It is 1/10, just over. That splits Sirra from Taylor as Fraser completes lap number 1. But then behind Taylor, it's 1,000th, 400ths, 100th, 100th and a half, 1,000th. We're talking margins infinitesimally small. Rodriguez and Jenkins tied on the same lap time. Sirra with magic in qualifying.
Absolutely incredible stuff here, Arjuna, and I think that means we're going to be in for a very, very close race at the front of this field as qualifying ticks itself over.
Well, the first part of the doubleheader was intriguing, that's for sure, but we're in for something different as we get ready to go racing at Mobility Resort Motegi for the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175 presented by Next Level Racing. Let's run you down through today's starting grid brought to you by ButtKicker, and it's the 6th career pole position for David Sirott in career start number 31, still searching for that elusive victory. Will it come here today? Matt Taylor looks to make it 3 wins in a row from the outside of row 2, while Sean Campbell and Mark Cohn run alongside one another on row 2. Luis Gonzalez Nunez will bring confidence today in his new entry in the Team Sim Race 24/7 green, white and red number 14 Alex Guyon alongside on row 3. Chris Fowler and David Rodriguez 7th and 8th. Rodriguez one to watch, 8th has won here twice in 4 races. Paul Jenkins and Tyler Graff will bookend the top 10 with Reagan and Malone sharing row 6. Rodrigo Munoz and Ricky Harden will line up 13th and 14th with Jim Herrick shotgun from 15th and Robert Mikes alongside Danny Roberts and Georgian Zaldo 17th and 18th positions rounding out the top 20. It is Craig Forsyth in the 40 Sim Racing entry and Backfire Motorsports Hugo Gallus. Richie Hearn and Adam Frazier row 11 with Mike Rasmas end of line penalty will drop to the rear of the field alongside with Luke Daniels and Gary Godso with no lap time set in qualifying. Slightly smaller field than we've become accustomed to this season, but maybe, just maybe, we'll be in for a little less drama and a little less chaos than we were in for this time last year. The cars are getting ready to roll as we look from up above on pit lane. A fantastic sight as these Lotus 79s designed for Grand Prix venues around the world get ready to go at yet another historic oval, this time in Japan. We've got featured on board to run you down through. Let's start with Chris Fowler and your ButtKicker on board. Look, sim racing is better with ButtKicker. Visit thebuttkicker.com.
Next up, we have the Next Level Racing on board camera here. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com.
Seems like we don't actually have Craig Forsyth in the field, so instead we go to Luis Gonzalez Nunez on the Sim Race 24/7 on board. Visit simrace247.com, where sim racing is for everyone.
And then we've got George Anzaldo here bringing up our HyperX on board camera. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game.
HyperX celebrating 20 years as firm supporter of this Lionheart Racing Series, but expectations as we get ready to go racing for the second part of this fantastic doubleheader, DJ.
I think we're going to see some close racing at the top of the field, but also remember, I think you're going to see a lot of drivers here holding back, not wanting to be too aggressive too early. This may have a little bit of braking in it, but it does drive a little bit like a super speedway.
Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and this is the start of the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175, presented by Next Level Racing. It's a 6th career pole position for David Sirott in the Raven Lavoie Motorsports car. He gets us racing at Motegi. Sirott converts behind him, sliding into line. Sean Campbell in second. Luis Gonzalez Nunez has roared up 2 spots to get into third. Mark Cohn and Matt Taylor struggling on the race start.
Yeah, not looking there. It looks like they got pushed a little bit too far wide coming through turns 1 and 2. Little bit of smoke getting kicked up there from middle of the pack there. I think somebody having to check up a little bit as they went into 3.
It will be Sirott that leads across the line at the end of lap 1 with Campbell, Nunez, Taylor, Cohn, the top 5. Very much, though, expecting a pack race at the start. It might filter out a little bit more as we work through the course of the run. And we work through the tires as well. Chris Fowler jumps in front of Alex Guyon. But remember what happened last year. We saw 4, we saw 5 wide. Hopefully, drivers got the memo that this year they've got to play it cooler at the start.
Well, it certainly looks like they're playing it a little bit cooler here. The only side-by-side we've really got up and down the field was that battle there with Fowler and Guyon. Looks like Fowler's able to get ahead, but Guyon trying to fight back. A little bit of a move at the front of the field, though.
Sean Campbell dive to the inside into turn 1 and will lead the field on the exit of turn 2. We wondered if he could do it on the ovals. It does help when you've got the likes of David Rodriguez and company at the RSR by ButtKicker crew to help you figure things out. But Campbell will lead them into 3 and 4 and look to lead a lap.
looks like he's going to be able to do just that, pulling out a little bit of an advantage here. Again, this is the part of the circuit where the draft is really going to come into play. A little bit of a poke out there behind from Luis Gonzalez Nunez. I think he's maybe trying to see if he can scare Sirois off the line a little bit going down into 1 and 2, but not working.
Matt Taylor is plummeting like a rock. Now, usually we don't see Taylor qualify well. He very much improves through the course of races. Part of the issue being that he runs in all 3 of the Lionheart sanctioned competitions. But after starting up in second, he's struggling to stay inside of the top 10. This is definitely not what he wanted to see as Nunez gets in front of Sirois for second.
And that's a little bit of that pressure that I was talking about. I'm a little bit surprised there to see that Sirois falling back through the field on that low line. That's where I would traditionally think the fastest run is going to be, but we're seeing him getting a little bit swamped here, as now that's going to be the watchman, Mark Cohn, trying to make a move around the outside.
Might also be Chris Fowler. Are they going 3 wide? They're definitely 2 wide for the lead as Luis Gonzalez Nunez, full of confidence after Monday night and a victory at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, will jump to the point at Motegi. 5 laps in the books. We've already had 3 different leaders.
That's what we like to see here from Motegi. Everybody keeping it very, very racy, but very, very clean. Nunez being a little bit aggressive there, and I think that's Fowler running that high line again. Now, that's going to give him more speed off of the corner, but it's not the quickest way from point A to point B, as we've got 3 wide.
Sean Campbell, a terrible run on the exit of the corner, allows the watchman to pop out to the outside, but he'll have to fan to the inside. Campbell throws it into turn 3 and actually regains the race lead. We're in for a treat if it's going to be like this, DJ, but I'm starting to get nervous. I am starting to get some flashbacks.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit worried as well, but let's see if they can restrain the aggression here a little bit as they go. Cohn tucking right up behind Sean Campbell as they run out of 1.
3 wide almost again. Nunez will now lose out. The very highest groove is definitely not where you want to be through 1 and 2. The furthest distance around the track. Now Cohn challenging around the outside of 3 and 4. And as we work through the course of this run, expect that move to get stronger. It will be Cohn that leads at the line. 4 leaders in 7 laps now.
I'm loving what I'm seeing here up at the front, and now Cohn losing out there a little bit to Campbell. This is a little bit more of what I expected. Hugging that low line, keeping that down there, that's going to be the way to go. But here they come. They do not look like they are calming down in the aggression, Arjuna.
Yeah, this is very different to what a Delara IR18 race is going to look like. Nunez around the outside will mug Rodriguez and Gouillard, and my word, it is turning into a brawl, and we're not even 10 laps into this one. Calm it down, boys. They're fighting on the entry into turn 1.
They're fighting on the entry there, but flat out through turn 1. That's not the danger zone. The danger zone is when you get 2, 3 wide coming down into 3 and 4. They can keep it wide there through 1, but I'm not liking that fan out. We've got a lot of drivers that aren't going to be able to see all the way across the track.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem, to be fair, DJ, is just how wide this oval is, because it truly invites you to make risky moves.
Yeah, it really, really does. It's a super wide track around here, but really there's only 2, maybe 3 lanes that you can really run and stand a chance of actually getting anything to go. And so running those multiple grooves, it throws you out. It's not great to be able to do it, and there's really only 2 lines down into 2.
25 car split by 4 seconds. There is a bit of separation building between 22nd and 23rd, but you never know how things will change as they fly through the exit of 1 and 2. This time it's Fowler that works on the back of Sean Campbell, who will continue to lead. Cohn and Sirois fight for 3rd as, yeah, that is a sight that is not to be trifled with, because this is right on the balance, the thin line between fantastic clean racing and 1 millimeter of a mistake that leads to disaster that will take out the field.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to be very, very careful. And I actually like there what Luis Gonzalez Nunez is doing, running super wide, not trying to cut down on anybody. Where you're going to run into problems here is a little bit of a move like that from Mark Cohn trying to dive down to the inside. But it's when you start pinching drivers down to the inside through 3 and 4, that's when you're going to run into real problems.
Let's have a quick look then at our Moser Racing driver profile, and it is for the driver that started in 2nd. And I'm now starting to wonder if this is just Matt Taylor recognizing Okay, this is going to be a scary race. It is better that I stay out of trouble. Matt Taylor, 40 starts, 22 top fives. More than 50% of the time, you find Taylor up and in the mix. 6 wins to add, but interestingly, no pole positions. But I think part of that goes to the fact that, like I said, he competes across the gamut of cars in Lionheart competition. His first win came here at Motegi in his first season of competition.
Yeah, it's a little bit of things. Sometimes you're a driver that's got good race pace. Sometimes you're a driver that's got good quality pace, and those two are sometimes mutually exclusive. It's just the way you like to drive the car. Had a 3-wide moment there coming down into 3, able to fan themselves out a little bit as they continue to battle this out. Campbell and Cone going at it tooth and nail.
They're not going as aggressive as last year. For those that missed the race in 2021, inside of the first 10 laps, we went 5 wide. And yes, you can imagine the disaster and the chaos that ensued. It was truly a scene to behold. And from there, we had a rather pedestrian affair that saw Matt Taylor walk away with the win. DJ was on course for a potential top 5 until computer issues took him out. Mark Cohn leads at the line in front of Sean Campbell. And while he may not get the move done through turns 1 and 2, it's important to know that building to the final laps of the race, if you're in a side-by-side fight, DJ, because you may be able to get it done around the outside, even if you prefer to be down low.
Yeah, this point in the race, this is a lot of experimentation here for these drivers, figuring out where their cars are going to be good, figuring out what the positioning of the other cars is, where each driver wants to position their car the most, who's going to be doing that, who's going to be moving up the track a little bit, who's going to be moving down. This is all reconnaissance here at this point in the early stage of the race.
Alex Guyon will use the advantage at the inside, checks up to try and get around the outside of Tyler Graff. Nunez in front trying to do the same on Rodriguez. They won't get it done, but they cooperate with one another and try and use the draft to help, and continuing to be a feisty scene, that is for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the history of not the track, but the series and this track, because it is a fascinating one. After missing out on the inaugural season, it's been a staple since then, producing races very much like this. 2 of the 4 races have finished under caution, and in the 2 other races we've had rather close finishes, but in both those cases the driver that started down in 8th was the one that worked their way forward, and leading laps is no guarantee of victory at this very tricky facility.
No, it's really not, and that's because of the momentum that you can lose here coming through 3 and 4 if you just slightly get that wrong a little bit. If you feel it wrong, if you don't get onto the power coming off of it, you can lose a lot of momentum. That's what we saw here with some of the drivers that were leading earlier on with Sirois and Mark Cohn, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, that have now found themselves a little bit farther back in the field, and I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing Sean Campbell really do well here. Is turns 3 and 4, you got to run it like you're running a road course.
Almost 4 wide through turn 3. Fowler challenging to the outside, but it is good that you have 2 teammates able to try and work together in the form of Campbell and Rodriguez. I think that will be beneficial to them. 3 wide for a moment in the battle for 5th as they dive through turn 1 again. We're already halfway through the fuel run now, DJ. We're getting closer to the point where drivers will start to be wondering what their competitors are doing, as there's huge contact and a huge one down the back straightaway. Caution not triggered just yet, but 3 cars involved. Bobby Mikes, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, 2 significant ones.
Yeah, and it looked like there, I think that Mikes may have just gotten a little bit of contact there coming out of turn 1. That spun him around at the exit, and Luis Gonzalez Nunez had absolutely nowhere to go.
Oh, yeah, and you just see him joisted into the air, and for poor Luis Gonzalez Nunez, who was finally having luck start to go his way, it comes undone in the blink of an eye, right on board with the Team SimRace 24/7 driver, and you'll just see there's a slight amount of air, but Nunez doesn't have the liberty of saying, I'm going to pick one side or the other, because he is very much cognizant of the fact that there are people coming around him.
Yeah, there are people coming around him, and Arjuna, I can tell you I have been in that position that Luis Gonzalez Nunez has been in multiple times, where you just try to find a little bit of open air, not wanting to create a bigger incident there. So very difficult, so very frustrating for a driver that led here early on and certainly had a top 10 car.
And we think was being smart as well. We saw, the potential just backing off and realizing when it was not smart to fight. But here was the question that I was about to pose. halfway through the run. Does anyone stay out? Yes, we see Tyler Graf elect to bail, along with the likes, I think, of Alex Guyon, but the vast majority of the field will dive down onto the safety of pit lane. Only about 7 cars staying out and gambling.
Well, I mean, I think for a lot of these drivers here that we're seeing, Graf, Guyon, Jenkins, Reagan, Herrick, Hearn, that's probably a good roll of the dice for them. They were a little bit mired in the mid-pack here. Let's see what they're able to do up at the front of the field. The other flip of that is because they were mired in that mid-pack, they were probably able to save a little bit more fuel than some of the drivers that were at the pointy end of the field, like Sean Campbell.
So on the race off of pit road, it's Campbell, Rodriguez, Fowler, Sirrod, the top 5. 7 cars did indeed stay out. So it is Graf, Guyon, Jenkins, Reagan, Herrick, Hearn, and Godso. The 7 that will start in front of those that dive down. I don't think we saw any tires there, so it was just for fuel. I wonder if that will change around as we get later into this race. From this point forward, though, we're on lap 113. A lap 21 of 113, so 92 laps to go with a fuel window estimated to be about 40 laps. Now, is there any chance there will be someone that can try and stretch it to 45? If, knock on wood, we go green from here.
I mean, if there's anybody that can do it, my eye's going to be on David Rodriguez, as we do have a driver here that's going to be Gary Godso pulling off into pit lane. Rodriguez is certainly one to keep in mind as a driver who's been able to make those fuel laps work, and especially with the big pack running that we've been seeing, multiple lanes where you can stick behind a driver in front of you, hold off on the throttle a little bit, maybe be able to stretch to 43. I think 45 is going to be a little bit too much to ask for, but I have been proven wrong before.
And again, if there is anyone that can do it, it's probably this man, David Rodriguez. Now, they did slightly short fill, 6.5 for Rodriguez, 6.4 for Campbell, compared to 7.1 for Fowler. So maybe just trying to guarantee some relative track position, knowing that with the pack style racing that we've got, they're likely to shuffle to the front anyway. But no matter what, I think we are in for a spicy little restart here. Of course, we'll not file up too wide. We'll single file ourselves out on this restart, of course, which tends to mean that the initial restart lap is not the most exciting, but lap 2 and 3, when they bunch on up and they pack on up, is when you start to get nervous.
Yeah, when you get that drop at the green flag, you're going to see a little bit of pulling away there a little bit, probably from Graf, who's going to be able to get the best run on the rest of the field. But then once that draft starts to come into play, you'll see the field start to bunch back up, and then we're going to get back to that 2-3 wide again. Quick
look at weather conditions, because it's dropped very slightly, not dipped below 100 Fahrenheit just yet. But as we tick towards 3 p.m. Here on iRacing Day, clouds are very much playing their part. Not much wind to speak of. We do tend to see gusts of wind here at Motegi from time to time, but not such a big factor for the drivers here today. And of course, DJ, it'll just get cooler, hopefully, from here.
Yeah, it should get cooler and cooler, although we are at about 2:40 p.m. virtual standard time right now, so we could see a little bit of fluctuation there with the heat, depending on where the clouds come in, but that's really all to be determined here. Plenty of racing left to do, and we'll keep you abreast of any of those changing weather conditions.
And of course, DJ, since the last time I think that you commentated on this series and maybe this car, a huge graphical overhaul that finally means that we've got a full cockpit now.
It does indeed, and doesn't it look absolutely fantastic? It is such a beautiful graphics overhaul here that iRacing has put in.
Yeah, poor drivers and their designers have been, trying to get their paints redone, and so it's still a work in progress, but we've got at least provisional paints for everyone in the field, which is a delight to see. It very much is a world-renowned car that, for the die-hard motorsports fan, when you hear the name the Lotus 79, your ears will perk up. But it's been an interesting one so far. In the first caution, we'll see Tyler Graf and 5 other drivers elect to stay out and gamble with the strategy. We're back underway for the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175 presented by Next Level Racing, and of course, single file at the front, but accordioning at the back, and almost side-by-side for third.
Yeah, that was going to be Jenkins there and Chris Reagan. Both of them, I think, opting to get out of it a little bit. A couple of drivers experimenting up high, but it looks like everybody here is sticking on that low lane here early on. A little bit more fanning out again. Almost too wide, coming down into 3 and 4.
Sean Campbell, David Rodriguez have still yet to cycle together as Chris Fowler tries to hold off the challenge from Mark Cohen in front of them. Almost some contact between the likes of Reagan and Jenkins as the red and white machine of Reagan slides to the inside, and nicely done. Now, of course, if I remember correctly, we're talking of teammates in those two machines, so don't expect them to fight too much. But at the front of the field, it's Guyon going for the lead.
Yes, he is. He is not waiting around there. Down to the inside of Tyler Groff. Going to try to get that done, and that's going to allow here for Reagan and Jenkins to probably pull into the back of this pack a little bit. Again, you don't want to give up too much time fighting like this, but there's really nothing you can do when the draft starts to come into play.
So I think we have now a 6th different leader of this race so far as Alex Guyon hits the front to lead just lap 28 in his Retro Series career, has completed over 2,500 laps. And despite always being around in the mix and inside of the top 10 in terms of fighting, a shock to have only seen him lead that many laps. He'll add another one to the tally as well. Luis Gonzalez Nunez will roll back onto track, albeit 4 laps down from the field. We'll see just how damaged his machine is. But Robert Mikes already has called it quits in today's race. Sean Campbell gets in front of Jim Herrick, trying to use the advantage of the potential strategy calls that he'll be able to play with as he puts some separation between him and everyone else, because almost that 1.2 seconds split 8th and 9th spots.
That's a little bit surprising to me, Arjuna, but that is a very crucial designation there. When you get up above about a second or so, that's when you're going to fall out of draft range. So if I'm Sirwa here, or more importantly, I think, if I'm Fowler, Cohen, Forsythe, any of these drivers that are behind him, I'm hustling, trying to get up and around him and catch back up to this leading pack.
Luis Gonzalez Nunez returns to pit lane. I think there's too much damage, unfortunately, on his machine, so 25 becomes 22 because Adam Frazier, I think, also missed we missed something that happened to him. We'll try and get clarification on that one. Guyon continues to lead at the front of the field. Teammates trying to work together to bully Jim Herrick out of a 7th spot as it runs right now, but the gap has grown. It's 1.5 and building between 8th and 9th.
Yeah, it is, and that's really just losing out on that draft. I'm a little bit surprised here that we haven't seen a little bit of cooperation from Sirwa and Fowler. Remember, you can actually get a little bit of side draft in these cars, particularly if you're running on a big super speedway, running side by side through turns 1 and 2. That may be able to help you out around here, so I'm surprised we haven't seen that. I'm surprised we haven't seen a little bit of leapfrog playing from them.
Track both those battles for a couple of moments, and we'll track the delta as well, as it's now grown to 1.6 and above. So very much now just Campbell and Rodriguez pulling away with those that did not come down pit lane, and that is an ominous sign. It is a warning shot to those in the field behind, because if Campbell and Rodriguez can work together, if Rodriguez can teach Campbell the ways of the fuel growing tree that he built inside his car at Iowa, it's hard to see any way that RSR by ButtKicker don't find a way to put at least one of their cars on the podium.
Yeah, they're looking to be in good position here, and again, I like the restraint that I'm seeing out of them. When you're racing around a big oval like this, restraint is such a crucial thing to have. You don't want to bite off more than you can chew, and being careful, being cautious, especially in the early stages of this race, that is the way to do it.
Herrick and Rodriguez still squabbling for 7th, but Rodriguez, can he have enough overlap on the entry to 1 to commit? Herrick in the 4D sim racing entry, I think, giving plenty of room and trying not to fight too hard and breaking these two off from those in front. So Campbell and Rodriguez now find themselves 6th and 7th positions respectively, as Reagan and Richie Hearn 3rd and 4th side by side into 3.
Yep, side by side here. Reagan up on the high side, Hearn down on the low side as they run. Little bit of twitch of oversteer there for Chris Reagan coming off of the corner, but he is going to be able to keep it together. Now loses out of position, and that's going to be Paul Jenkins being able to get on through.
We jump on board with Elite West Racing number 19 and Chris Reagan. It's all about give and take and knowing when to fight. Richie Hearn now looks maybe to try and get a move done on Tyler Graf for the run down into turn number 3 when they'll shift down through the gears. Richie Hearn commits to the inside, will slide up the track through the corner and moves his way up to second.
All right, got a little bit of a car. Here does the former kart and IRL driver working his way through here. Richie Hearn up into second. I do believe Richie had the chance to actually race on this circuit in real life.
Now I have to go and pull up my Wikipedia notes again, but you might be right. And again, just look on the left side. You can see those team affiliations, especially in this front pack. You got 3 Elite West racing machines, 2 RSR by ButtKicker cars, and then singles, if you will, with Guyon, Graf, Herrick being the odd men out. It will be fascinating to track how they fight their way through this one because it continues to grow. Now 2.6 seconds splits 8th and 9th. Campbell and Rodriguez taking full advantage of the fact that on lighter fuel, these cars at the front are just faster.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very, very true thing here, Arjuna. We talk so much about the fuel loads here in terms of getting to the end of the race, but we've got to remember the fact that as these cars run and burn off that fuel, they get faster, they get twitchier, and I think that's one of the reasons you're seeing this big gap, now almost 3 seconds, start to develop.
Still Campbell and Rodriguez, one by one, working forward in a calm, cool and efficient manner. Lap 36, of course, of this race. Expect the drivers that did not dive to pit road to maybe come to the lane within the next 10 laps or so. They would have got a bit of a reprieve after the one and only caution that we've had so far today. Now it's Richie Hearn that battles for the lead as Graf and Jenkins battle behind them. 2 wide, about 3 rows deep. We fly into one once more.
All right, here they go, giving each other plenty of space coming through 1 and 2. That's a good heads-up play from both drivers. Looks like everybody's going to sort themselves out. The big loser out of that, though, is going to be Tyler Graf up on the high side. Looks like he's going to lose a position here to Chris Reagan as well.
3 wide for a moment as well for the race lead. It's Richie Hearn that leads, and you were right, DJ has raced not once but twice here in the kart days, both for Della Penna Racing, once finished in 27th, and in 1999 came back and finished inside the top 10. It's Guyon that dives to the inside once more. We've got a fight for the race lead.
Yes, we do, and Paul Jenkins now the one trying to work up on the high side there. He's going to carry a little bit more momentum off of the corner, but I don't think that's going to play out as we go Noah's Ark down into 3 and 4.
Got to be careful here because as fun as this is, if they fight too hard, they'll start to bring back those behind. 31.7 at the front of the field for Richie Hearn last time by. 31.8 for Sirois. Do have to watch out in terms of lap times. Over to lap 39 of 113. Into the pit stop window for the 6 that have yet to dive to pit lane at any point in this race. Communication will be paramount as you work off the exit of turn 4. Get down onto the brakes and onto the safety of pit lane. Guyon roars his way back to the front, and I'm really not understanding much, and I mean that in a good way, DJ, in terms of downloading data and getting to the end of this race. It's wide open, and it's really just going to be about right decisions and getting lucky.
Yeah, I think it is, as we've got this pack up here up front, about the top 8 or so that rolled the dice on that strategy. Now the problem is as they close in here on the end of their pit stop cycle, they're going to go a lap down. That's going to put them into a little bit of a danger zone, and then we're going to have to see what shakes out. If we get another yellow here with a few to go, that could change everything around.
You say they'll go a lap down, but if they keep pulling away by the extent that they've done so far, they may actually be able to stay on the lead lap. So this will be an interesting dynamic. Of course, then they'll be full of fuel and be slower. But we may be in for some traffic shenanigans when it comes to the strategies. Again, almost 3 wide. Jenkins backs out of this one as Guyon and Richie Hearn will be dueling into 3. I hadn't even thought about how enticing that possibility of these drivers once pitting being in traffic would be, but remember, they will fight to get back onto the lead lap to make sure they're in the right place if a caution does come out.
Indeed they will, and I think they are fighting here because they know they've got to pull as much of a gap as possible to put them in the best position possible to be into that. Now the question's going to be here is with all this dicing, 3 wide up for the front, you've got to be down on the low line to come on into pit lane, and that's going to start to calculate into their strategies here.
So is this going to be a 7th different leader in just 42 laps? It's Paul Jenkins that now hits the front as it's an Elite West Racing 1-2 with Jenkins and Hearn 1 and 2 at the front of the field. Reagan now makes it a 1-2-3. It's not the first time we've seen this sort of domination from a team, but there's still a long way to go. Pit strategies looking fascinating and potential caution still to mix things up. It's Reagan with the momentum that builds on the high line.
Yes, he does. Big check up there behind from Alex Guyon, almost coming into the back there of Richie Hearn, and that's going to be Guyon coming down pit lane. We had the first taker.
Lap 43, and he led a lot of laps at the Raven Lavoie 08. So now we'll get to see exactly how far he'll emerge relative to our race leaders. Net race leaders, I should clarify. Here come the actual race leaders, to Richie Hearn, Chris Reagan, and Jenkins. Teammates work together and coming together. It's always a risky play trying to get onto the brakes, line astern.
It's especially risky when you're coming 3 wide through the corner there, and it looks like Reagan and Jenkins are both going to hop on down pit lane. Herrick's going to join them.
And so it's now the RSI by ButtKicker teammates that run at the front of the field. There is Guyon. Now where is David Sirah in comparison? He's already built up the momentum, of course, and ramps through 1 and 2. Guyon is going to be engulfed by the chasing pack.
Yes, he is, and there he goes, and that is going to put him down into that position. Engulfed is the definite right word there, Arjuna.
Now, has Richie Hearn ran out of fuel? I think Richie Hearn has run out of fuel, and that is not what you would want to see. Tyler Graf and Richie Hearn will be the final cars to come to pit lane, but disaster for the 70.
Yeah, absolute disaster there because he is going to be sputtering all the way down pit lane here. That is going to be his problem, is he is going to be in that as he goes, and so he's going to have to try to figure out now how to get himself back up and into good position.
Well, I think there's a reason for why this happened. Take a look at the replay because it's just, you talked about the dangers of coming 3 wide and trying to find a lane to come to pit lane. Watch Richie but he sends it in, and then realizes with Jenkins and a Reagan on his inside, he couldn't do it. And so now he has to splutter his way around just over 1.5 miles at Motegi. What a painful feeling it must be.
Yeah, and I've been there when you run into that position. Very, very difficult that you just can't get down pit lane. He clearly tried to be able to do that and just wasn't able to, but now we've got a little bit of a teammate helping train here going along.
Yeah, and I wonder if we will see a bit of a swap draft here. I would not be totally shocked to see that as we track not just Rodriguez at the front, but Sirah, who's actually seen in front of him those cars that have come down pit road right in front for the time being. But I think this is a curious dynamic that we have to track and see what the RSR by ButtKicker teammates can do, not just in terms of lap times, of course, but fuel saving as well.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big play here, that what Rodriguez is going to be in good position here to be able to do. He's going to be able to lift off, particularly coming through 1 and 2 here. He's going to be able to take a little bit of a better line through 3 and 4, knowing what his teammate's going to do. Here's the swap around. Now it's going to be Campbell's turn to be able to do just that.
And a ride with both of them as we cycle through this phase of the race. And this is a quiet but crucial phase of the race. Let's not get confused by that, because for the 2 out front, it's about communication, working together. For Sirah and those behind him, it's about surviving this, the chaos of traffic as we come across the line, ready to get 50 laps in the books.
Here they go, and I'm going to be interested here to see if Sirah is going to be able to do kind of the same thing with maybe Fowler or Cone here that we're seeing up through at the front of the field. Looks like Fowler's going to try to make a move there on the outside. Maybe Cone's going to be the one to do it, but as they go down into the corner here, I've got to think you've got to start swapping around.
Oh my days, 11th on Packer having a knockdown, drag-out fight as it stands right now as we check in with them. Fighting up and down through. It's not 11th on back, excuse me. It's 9th on back. And my word, what a feast we're having right now in terms of racing. Inching closer to the halfway marker of this race as well, crucially. The two at the front of the field, DJ, are still pulling away. 31.4 for Rodriguez last time by. It's a tenth of a second quicker than anyone in the field that we're watching here.
And that is really all being made up through turns 3 and 4. He doesn't have to worry about anybody in front of him, so he's able to take the exact braking line that he wants to, Arjuna, and that is what is giving him that tenth of a second advantage per lap.
About 10 laps to go until the pit stop window will start to open for drivers. Remember, 45 or so laps, the magic number. They've had a couple of laps under caution, which will help them out as well. Chris Fowler in the Madworks Motorsports number 20 in front of Sirov for the final step of the podium. You were wondering if he had had enough and wanted to try and bring a little bit more tempo. We're about to find out what Fowler can do.
All right, let's see if he's got a little bit of speed here as he is able to get by David Sirwa right now. Mark Cohn taking a little bit of a peek down to the inside. Sirwa, if I were in his position, I'd back off a little bit, save some fuel, but he has no intentions of waiting around. He's going to dive down to the inside.
I think the problem is you've got drivers behind who might not be so patient. And let's give plaudits to Mike Razmas. What did we talk about before we went live, DJ? I did say that basically with the end of line penalty, if Razmas gets up even into the top 10, let alone the top 5, he'll walk away with a smile on his face. He's in 6th, 17 positions gained so far.
Yeah, he is our big mover here on the day, and it looks like he is one of those drivers that is being very cautious here, being very, very calm as he goes, and that's exactly the kind of mentality you want to have. It's the mentality of a champion, you know?
Consistency wins championships. I don't think people recognize this enough, and yes, consistently being number one is great, but it's not realistic in motorsports. In every other, ball sport, it's one team versus one. There are plenty of winners in any given NBA, English Premier League weekend. In motorsports, in a series, there is one winner and one alone. And so therefore, you just have to make sure you get what you can. It is as simple as that, but it is very much a challenge for drivers to come to grips with. 4.8 the gap between second and third, just over 5 seconds the gap between first and third. Lap 35 on the stint for these drivers. 10 laps, that is what you would have to do to get to a point where you could stretch it to maybe get to the end of the race. The question is it worth a gamble?
I don't know here. That's going to be the big question for these drivers, and that's where it's going to help if you've got multiple teammates that you can be talking to, that you can be working with. But this is going to be a big gamble if you try to make that stretch.
It favors the bold, does this sort of a fuel mileage race. It's not uncommon for Lionheart races to devolve into this. And before people say, the organizers set it up like that, the organizers can't do much about cautions when they're automatically thrown out there by the iracing gods. So with 30 minutes of racing left to go, we've got a fascinating battle in store in this 5th trip to Motegi and this oval facility in 6 years of this Lionheart Retro Series. Still 9th on back, having a nice little tussle. They're 11 seconds back from your race leaders right now, and you'd have to say, based on lap times, in danger of going a lap down by the time we get to the end of this race.
Yeah, I certainly think so. You saw a little bit of side-by-side there between Roberts and Munoz as they went down in through turn 1. They're going to do it again here through turns 3 and 4. That's going to be Luke Daniels maybe taking a little bit of a look behind. He's going to back off, maybe trying to get a better run out of the corner. And a little bit of a crossover there. I think a lot of these drivers may be just committed here to running a little bit of a different strategy, hoping that a yellow is going to come out and bunch the rest of them back up, because the way they're running right now doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch back up.
Last time by, Sirra managed to find a little bit of pace. The gap has been reeled back in, at least momentarily, as Sirra found about 400th of a second. And yes, it's only 400ths, but you add those up over the next 60-odd laps, and you might still be in the mix. So we'll track that as we build. Rodriguez, though, managed to turn it back in his direction and equalizes it out lap on lap.
Yes, he does, as there they continue to swap back and forth, moving this way, moving that way. Everybody trying to figure out where they want to slot themselves into line. I'm seeing a lot of calmness here from some drivers. I'm seeing, particularly in that backpack that we were following, a little bit too much aggression, I think. But right here as we ride on board with Fowler, Siwa up in front, let's see what Chris does. Does he decide to maybe try to push ahead a little bit more, or maybe decide to back off?
Of course, your ButtKicker onboard look for today's race, past the halfway marker in this one and on to lap 40. Rodrigo Munoz has already dived to pit lane. Is there maybe a bit of fear from drivers that they haven't saved as much as they need to at the front of the field? We watch Rodriguez and Campbell well and truly out of turn number 4, powering onto the throttle. They seem to have done enough to be staying out there.
I mean, they've almost got 5 seconds on the rest of the field. I think they have got a good strategy worked out. Remember the way that they were just kind of trading back and forth? That's going to be able to save them a fair amount of fuel as they go. By the way, it does look like Munoz able to come down in pit lane, get his service, and come on back out.
45 then sets you up for another 45. So it's not like you've done the fuel job, the fuel saving job in this stint, and you can relax and push at the end. Here though comes David Sirois. He was pushing to try and bring the gap down on a lap 62. He brings the 99 to pit lane.
Brings it on down here, and that's going to be the second driver really in that pack to come on down. Now this is where it's going to come back here and favor over to the other drivers, Graf, Reagan, Guyon, Jenkins and Herrick, those drivers that waited.
I think Rodriguez is coming. Rodriguez must be coming because Campbell darted to the high line on the entry to 3. So Rodriguez maybe recognizing he can't go, but now does Campbell have enough fuel in the tank to go a lap or 2 longer and maybe take the fuel mileage saving tricks from his teammate and convert it to a 3rd consecutive victory as the gap continues to build, 5 seconds back to Chris Fowler.
He's going to have to see how he does this without his teammate there. There you see the rest in the box for the number 10. Doesn't look like that's going to be a tire stop there for David Rodriguez.
Rolls out of the lane as his teammate dives to pit lane. Fowler looks to be coming as well. Well and truly into the cycle. Mark Cohn and Mike Rasmas will be able to extend a little bit further. Are these crucial laps up and down through the field?
They are very, very crucial if you're able to eke it out here just a little bit, Arjuna. Every single lap can help you.
Look at this battle pack that still rages out there. Remember the likes of Raygon, Guyon, Jenkins will get their lap back once we're through this cycle and this phase of the race. Cone dives stage left. Here comes Rasmas, Forsyth, Malone as well. Yeah, a little bit nervy there, but I don't know if we're really going to see anyone be able to extend. Another couple of cars diving on in, and I think indeed we work through our cycle of pit stops here on lap 65.
Yes, indeed, as there they come to rest in the box. And look at that, Campbell and Rodriguez in together, out together, done to perfection.
And crucially, about 3 seconds clear of Chris Reagan. The likes of Graf and Sirah have made up a little bit of ground by virtue of this cycle. In fact, no, it's only Tyler Graf that has been able to make any sort of milestones in that cycle of pits. It's because I'm getting my timing screen all sorts of mixed up, and I was looking at someone else's stint length and reading the 0 where there was really a 20 for Tyler Graf. So excuse me, I got myself worked into a tizzy.
And that can happen sometimes. We've got a lot of information coming in here, and same with these drivers. It always impresses me that drivers are able to keep everything together, especially if they don't have a live crew chief there in their ear keeping an eye on strategy. It can be very, very difficult to be making those calls. I
get the sense that right now it is RSR by ButtKicker's race to lose.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. I mean, a 3.2, 3.3 second gap up at the front of the field. They look particularly in control and in the way that they go. And unless we get a yellow here, that is certainly going to be their race to lose, as you said.
It will be interesting what happens in about 15 laps time when Guyon and company will come to pit lane, because they will be good to get to the end of this race. And I don't think anyone other than the 6 who are on the contra strategy will get to the end without a splash and dash.
Yeah, I think you're right about that, and that's where this fuel strategy really starts to come into play. 46 laps to go, and this is really the point here, Arjuna, where I think you're going to see quite a few drivers backing off a little bit, really starting to worry about those fuel numbers now that we have gone this clean and green for this long.
But to that point, what can you do at the front of the field if you're Rodriguez and Campbell and maybe have, you know, less competition to worry about, yes, but also less help when it comes to fuel saving, knowing that you've got to maintain lap time between you as well, almost 4 wide in the battle for 4th.
Ooh, that got a little bit dicey, but to answer your question there, what you've got to do is you've got to be willing to play back and forth a little bit, and you've got to figure out that timing of when to lift. But I got to tell you something, Rodriguez, about 0.5 of a second up in front of his teammate, doesn't look like he is lifting at all.
Remember, he came down a lap earlier. Is he just now going to play the pace man, if you will? Will he be the one that sacrifices his race to help Campbell win? Have to wait and see. We've got about 44 laps before we'll find out, and what a run it will be for Campbell from victory on debut, just the 3rd driver in series history to do that, then winning 2 in a row, the first to ever do that. Can he go 3 in a row and win on the oval, the challenge that many thought would prove too much for him? You're watching racespottv and round 14 of the Lionheart Retro Series in 2022. We're live from Mobility Resort Motegi for the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175 presented by Next Level Racing. We'll be back with a run to the checkered flag right after this.
With the ButtKicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. ButtKicker, the future is feeling.
Hello everyone and welcome back to racespottv and what is turning into a fascinating battle here at the Mobility Resort Motegi. We're live for the second part of the doubleheader in the land of the rising sun with these Lotus 79s. It's round 14 of 18, the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175 presented by Next Level Racing. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to have my partner in crime DJ Clark back for the ride here today. And DJ, we were chatting quietly in that little break. It's getting spicy at the front with the gap coming down to just about 1.7 seconds as the chasing pack roars to the back of the RSR by ButtKicker duo.
Yes, indeed. They are coming on strong here as they run. Guyon being able to close that gap down. It's now down under a second and a half. They are closing big time, closing about a tenth a lap or so.
Fuel games to the end. That is what we are guaranteed. Remember, in our one and only caution in the race so far, 6 cars elected to stay out and gamble on going green to the end. As it stands right now, as it plays right now, a caution would change the game, but pit stop from here would let you get to the end of the race. On the left side of the screen, take a look at the stint lengths. Fuel window about 40 laps or so. Guyon and company are closing on their pit window. It is a shame that, unfortunately, I'm not sure what happened to Richie Hearn, but he has dropped to 15th, one of the few that tried the gamble.
Yeah, one of the few that tried the gamble there a little bit. We'll have to see how he's doing. I think he's backing off there a little bit, just trying to save a little bit of fuel. That's going to be what you're going to hear us say a lot from here on out. It's going to be those fuel numbers, fuel numbers, fuel numbers.
Love myself a good fuel mileage race. 35 to go. It'll tick over to 34 at the line this time by, and the gap between second and third is down to 1.1. Draft is going to play a factor, and from 2 cars at the front, we suddenly have a scenario. 7 cars once again will be fighting, and we know just how close the racing has proved to be already here today.
Yes, indeed, it has. A little bit of side-by-side there between Guyon and Reagan. I think the drivers here in this second pack recognizing that that gap is coming down and that the lead is certainly here to play for in the closing 35 laps.
Yeah, look on board from the rearwards camera from Sean Campbell. Guyon, Reagan, 3rd and 4th. Squabbling a little bit, but not losing time with one another. And now well and truly in drafting range with rocket ships of cars. This is what they needed coming into the pit stop cycle, DJ, is to get the draft, get the boost that they'll have from the slipstream, and just rock it in with some fast lap times here in the final stages before they dive to the lane.
Yeah, indeed, as now they start to pull in here a little bit, and I think for them, fuel saving is going to be out the window. This is all about attack, attack, attack.
They'll short fill in the lane as well. Don't expect anything in terms of tires. Guyon slides up through turn 1 and 2. There goes Reagan, Jenkins through as well. Jim Herrick will try and slide on forward too. And after leading this crew forward for so long, Guyon makes the mistake, and now Campbell hits the front to try and take advantage.
Trying to take a little bit of an advantage here. Guyon going to find himself back in the pack, and we've got 2 more drivers coming down pit lane. That's Groff and Herrick.
So the first 2 blink, and I think just trying to get out of the danger nest. Saw the mistake from Guyon and realized maybe we'll lose less time if we come in now and get service done as soon as feasibly possible. Rodriguez and Campbell will try and work together to figure out the best plan of attack. Reagan, Jenkins and Guyon, we question when they'll dive down to pit lane. Doesn't look like it's this time by.
No, it certainly doesn't. I think they're going to try to stay out here for maybe a lap or 2 longer as they run. We ride on board with Guyon right now. He's going to be holding behind Paul Jenkins. Now, they do have some nice breathing room here, about 5 seconds back to Chris Fowler as they run.
Yeah, plenty of separation, which is important, but now it all comes down just to fuel. Because for Campbell and Rodriguez, they're questioning if they can make it. They can afford to lose another 5 seconds. For Fowler on back, for those that have not come down onto pit lane, big questions still left to be answered. Guyon lights up the tires and smokes them as he gets onto pit lane. It now just leaves Reagan and Jenkins trying to extend as long as possible, get as short a pit stop as feasibly possible, left out on track.
Yeah, and that certainly could come out to help them a little bit. The longer they stay out, obviously, the less fuel they're going to have to put in the car as they run. If they're able to extend here a little bit more and keep those good fuel miles up, Guyon, no problems there. No tires crucially taken. It doesn't look like this is going to be a tire strategy race, and I don't anticipate anybody coming in for it as Reagan and Jenkins both coming in.
Yep, and that was the lock up in front as caution flies!
Yo!
The caution flies, and the game is changed! Just like that! We were wondering about what would happen if the caution flew, and in the blink of an eye, for 6 cars, their hopes, well, have taken a dent.
Just a little bit, and that's a particularly long stop there for Guyon. I'm not sure what's going on with
Penalty.
the car, but you can see the smoke. Oh!
It must be a penalty to have been held for that long. We mentioned the lockup and the likelihood is speeding on pit lane, but the drama came when championship contender Matt Taylor got involved in an incident out on track. Richie Hearn diving to the access road to run to pit lane, but totally unrelated, feeling maybe the weight of pressure. Matt Taylor loops it by himself.
Yeah, just maybe a little bit too aggressive of a turn in here. Let's watch his hands, Arjuna, as the MadWorks Motorsports driver comes on in. I think what that is probably just a little bit too much a steering lock while he attempted to put in the brakes coming down into the corner.
Does that make it harder for Taylor to fight for second in the championship? Is that what Mike Rasmussen would have wanted when it came to his championship hopes? Because now as we get ready for what is bound to be a flurry of activity and jinking, because with the caution, we're not expecting drivers to come to pit lane. DJ, we think they might be able to fake out and try and go from here. We'll see if anyone tries. Here comes the split.
Here comes the split indeed. It looks like we've got all takers, all drivers coming down pit lane.
Now, is there anyone that will stay out? Gary Godso is on 24 laps into his run. Now, we saw him do this in that first caution cycle, but came down the subsequent time around. So watch for him to maybe do that again. Get a bonus point for leading a lap, but the race off of pit lane, who's going to win here as all the drivers slide into their box, a couple already funneling off. It will be RSR by ButtKicker. Campbell in front of Rodriguez, 1 and 2 in that race. Lighting up the tires. David Sirov funnels in behind. Chris Fowler 3rd and 4th with Mark Cohn, Mike Rasmussen, Craig Forsyth, Ricky Harden, and Georgian Zaldo behind them. But a crucial cycle, and now a restart that is bound to be full of excitement.
For sure, and let's also call out here the strategy of just good luck that came across here for Chris Reagan and Paul Jenkins. Both of them were in pit lane as the caution flew, so they were able to take their service and ostensibly get a free pit stop out of that, and that puts them up into the lead of this race behind Gary Godso.
Yes, unfortunately for Guyon, because he locked up and smoked the tires and therefore got the penalty. He is trapped a lap down right now, so that will be rather frustrating for him given the position that Reagan and Jenkins, for example, find themselves in. But that's how it happens with these moments in terms of cautions. So Gary Godso will stay out, and I wonder how he's going to approach this race, if the lights even go off this time by, because we do tend to have rather lengthy caution cycles here at Motegi. Lights still on, so we're going at least one more time around. Maybe Godso comes in this time. I wonder if it's worth the gamble from here, but then I look at the fact that he's been on track for 26 laps already and still has to go 25 and think, yeah, there's no way that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very, very tough for him to be able to make that work as he runs, so probably not going to be the way to do this here for Gary. The one thing that he could have working to his advantage is if we get another yellow here at this point, that could come into his play.
Prediction time, DJ. I didn't ask you at the start, but now we've got a 24-lap shootout, a 23-lap shootout likely, and about 12 minutes of racing. Who do you think is the most likely to be victorious here?
Well, it's going to take a lot of aggression to keep yourself up front here. I'm going to throw my hat into the ring for Chris Fowler in the number 6. Fowler, we've always seen him be strong. I think starting in 6th position right now is going to be a good slot for him, and I think he's going to be the one to watch.
Fowler got the pole and then the victory in round 2 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. What a long time ago that was, March the 17th. Godso does indeed dive to pit lane, so he'll filter back to the tail of the field. It will leave Reagan, Jenkins, Campbell, Rodriguez, and then Fowler, the top 5. 13 races so far in 2022. We've had 8 winners. Our first repeat winner was Mike Rasmussen, who went back-to-back at Phillip Island and Brands Hatch. The week after that, Nashville Super Speedway, or rather the race after that, Matt Taylor got his 2nd of the season after winning at Watkins Glen at the very end of March. Next on deck was a trip to the Indianapolis Oval in the 2nd of our Triple Crown races, where Mike Rasmussen won for the 3rd time this season, and with double points there, one of the victories that, without a doubt, has helped him build the advantage in the championship to as it stands right now. After that, of course, Chris Lanini, after victory at Homestead, won at Michigan to become the 3rd repeat winner of the season, and after winning on debut on the streets of Long Beach. Sean Campbell, back-to-back winners, 100% streak so far, looks to continue that here today. Hack Racing. I don't feel like we're done with cautions, DJ. I feel like it's probably worth mentioning that as I knock on my RaceSpot issued block of wood.
Yeah, I mean, it's the cliche, but it's the cliche for a reason, Arjuna. Cautions breed cautions. I would not be surprised if we see one or two more here off at this start with the frenetic nature as they run.
I think I'm going to go with Campbell. I'm going to just say that luck maybe sometimes goes towards the inexperienced, but it's Reagan and Jenkins for Elite West Racing at the front of the field as we get set to go back green in the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175. It's a good coordination between the two teammates. What can the RSI by ButtKicker duo do on the run in towards turn number 1? Single file for the top 5. It is David Sirra and Mark Cohn that squabble for 6th, and Cohn gets in front of the 99.
Oh, Jenkins washed up a little bit there coming off at the corner. That's going to open up an opportunity there for Sean Campbell. David Rodriguez also thinking about coming down to the inside there of the number 35 as well.
4 wide, excuse me, just inside of the top 20. They make it work, but yes, we still got 23 laps to go. Becomes 22 this time by already some separation forming. They're so feisty at the very tail of the pack that they're just checking one another up and tripping over one another. Jenkins now drops to 7th. Reagan left by himself with no team assistance. And here comes Sean Campbell.
All right, two-time waste winner on the trot, trying to see what he can do. He's got his teammate there tucked in behind Chris Reagan. They're going to come in as a nice little triangle there. I think this is going to be Rodriguez trying to maybe give his teammate a little bit of room. And there's Campbell up in front trying to break the draft already.
It is Campbell back to the point of the field. Reagan, Rodriguez, Fowler, and Cohn the top 5. Harding now jumps in front of Paul Jenkins. Freight Trained as being the number 35. The Elite West Racing machine now tries to settle into 10th spot. 3 wide for the race lead though on the run into turn number 3. It's Campbell in the middle with Rodriguez down low. Reagan going to be compromised up high.
Yeah, that's going to put him out a little bit, and there's Fowler coming up into the equation as well. He's going to dive down to the low side there, trying to be able to get everything they can do. He's not going to be able to do too much with it, but I've got to give credit here to Reagan sticking it out on that high line.
Actually made it work better than I thought he would. Here again, though, comes the momentum from Rodriguez. He'll tuck inside of his teammate as we look at now Fowler trying to make it 4 abreast on the run to turn 3. They waited about 90 laps longer this time around, but it's Chris Fowler that sails to the point.
All right, there's my prediction coming into play right there, down to the inside, trying to break the draft, but we've got 2 lanes starting to form here as we dive into 1.
Can Campbell hold strong? Is Rodriguez going to try and now compromise Fowler through turn 3 and 4? Reagan with a good run will pop up high. Again now for a moment with 4 wide. Rodriguez still trying to build lazily the car, accelerating on the run to turn 3. It should be Campbell that will regain the lead through 3 and 4. But my word, we've still got 19, 18 laps to go. We're going to be out of breath and out of our voices by the time we get to the checkered.
Yes, we are, and there's a lot of feistiness there for about 5th position. That was Cohn, Cyril, Rodriguez. Everybody kind of dicing around there. I think that's Craig Forsyth running up on the high line.
Contenders up and down through this one. You could have a prediction, but there's no guarantee of victory here. That is for sure. It's now Fowler in the middle, Reagan up high, but Campbell controls down low and sails the car through turns 3 and 4 and immediately tries to break the toe. Learning quickly is the 26.
Yeah, learning very, very quickly is the 26 on how to be oval racing. But I've got to tell you, watch out for Chris Reagan here. He is the only driver that we have really seen since the restart be able to make that high lane work, and he could be dangerous.
4 wide for a moment once more, but at this point, there's only so excited you can get because it will be just about the last lap. You can lead now. It might not matter if you get shuffled back like Paul Jenkins has been done. He's in 16th spot, dropping like a stone. 3 wide again. Reagan down the middle, searching for the lead.
Reagan trying to go for it here around the outside. Rodriguez down to the inside. Campbell, Fowler duking it in there behind. 3 wide coming out of the corner.
Great shot from up above as we look at the battle inside of the top 8 or so. Top 9, excuse me, with some separation behind them. Sailing to the lead once more goes David Rodriguez. Couple of 3 wide moments, but battles up and down through this field across the line. 15 still left to play.
All right, as they come down in, that's going to be Fowler tucking up behind. Reagan still resolutely up on that high line, and there's that pinching that I was talking about, Arjuna. He's starting to try to keep those drivers tight through the corner. That's going to slow them down a little bit.
We talked about how wide this track is. You very feasibly could fit 7 cars abreast for a moment until they wrecked. There's only one way that ends. Campbell, Rodriguez, RSR by ButtKicker, 1 and 2 once more. This may be what they need, but it's about the communication, the coordination to ensure they can stay locked in, step down low, and Reagan spoils the party immediately, gets in between the two of them.
Oh, and that was a very, very close run for Chris Reagan. I dare say there were a couple of millimeters between himself and the car in front of him, but here we've got Rodriguez diving down to the inside.
And we ride on board with the championship leader, started at the back after an end-of-line penalty. How much jeopardy does he want to place himself in now as he fights along with the likes of David Siro, who started this race from the front of the field? Hornet's Nest rumbles into turn 1 once more. 100 laps complete, 13 to go.
Here they come 2 by 2 out of the corner. Everybody's starting to fan out here as they work their way down the backstretch. Almost 4 wide. Let's definitely call it 4 wide.
Almost 5 wide, definitely 4 wide. But again, it's Campbell that just seems to be confident to 3. And that's crucial because if they are side by side on the final lap, he'll trust himself.
Whoa.
But a crash, it's Richie Hearn that will bring the caution out. And we'll get less than 10 laps to go. A shootout to decide this one.
Oh my goodness gracious, Arjuna, just when you thought this couldn't get more exciting, and I'm not sure there exactly what happened to Richie. I couldn't tell if that was just a spin coming off the corner or if there was a little bit of contact that caused him to go around.
Well, the end result was hellacious, that's for sure. Let's jump on board and we'll get a much better picture from a man that's experienced this facility in the real world twice, finished inside the top 10 in 1999. Understeer City, pushes wide, knocks down the outside wall, and around she goes. That's the end of the day for Richie Hearn.
Yeah, and that's a combination there of really 2 things, Arjuna. One, that's the aero wash coming in on some of these worn tires there, and it's also the fact that I think Richie may have gotten on the throttle a little bit too early, got a little bit too over-eager coming out of turn 4 and waiting for that to come back around on him.
We may have a potential issue here because the cars have ground to a halt. We're waiting for the safety car to catch the leaders who are already at the start-finish line. So excuse us for a moment as the cars park themselves. Drivers left, but it gets a little bit more normal now. Less than 10 laps to play in this one, and Reagan, I think, is a strong pick, but it feels in some way like you're in Vegas and you're just throwing money out there and hoping it sticks.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit what it is here at this point. It very much is just a little bit of luck all the way around to see how it's going to play out.
Right. So, 4 previous races. Let's talk about the history again in this series at this track. 4 previous races. 2 have finished under caution. 1, the margin of victory was under 1/10 of a second. The other one was half a second. So we are guaranteed some sort of good finish. Remember, 8th has won at this track twice, both when it finishes under green. So if we finish under green and David Rodriguez wins this race, there is very much an 8th place charm about this facility. Leading laps again, no guarantee of victory. But Sean Campbell and David Rodriguez have led their fair few. Lights stay on the pace car, so at the most it will be 9 to go when we get back underway. It's been a different race to last year, DJ, in some ways, but it's had that same intensity. It's had that same trepidation for some of the drivers as well.
Yeah, it really and truly has. It's a lot of that very close racing that we have come to expect here from a superspeedway like Motegi. Very, very difficult to be able to distance yourself from the rest of the field.
Series is getting so strong as well now, and the fact that Sean Campbell rocked up on debut and managed to also show then after that Adam Blocker that he didn't know everything about this Lotus 79 was quite impressive. And it's a partial season this year, so there's no championship talks when it comes to Sean Campbell. But once we head into the off season, once we build for 2023, you best believe if that 26 returns, he will be the favorite. No questions asked. Light still on the pace car, so it will be an 8-lap shootout at the end of this one. And it also means that, DJ, the point of no return is a little bit earlier than drivers would have wanted.
Yes, it is. You've got to be a little bit careful here as you run. If you are in that mid-pack here, you don't want to be making any too risky of maneuvers because you don't want to bring out that yellow flag and have this finish under yellow where you're not able to make a move getting your way back up through the field.
So many strong contenders. Only one can be victorious. I said this earlier, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot more recently, DJ. I don't know who I heard say this, but when you watch the NFL, week in, week out, or whatever sport you may watch, most leagues, yes, there's only one winner in a match, but there are so many matches that there are many winners over the course of the weekend. Whereas in one series in motorsports, there is only ever a handful of drivers, one team that can truly call themselves a winner.
Yeah, exactly, and that's one of the great things about racing, specifically this IndyCar style of racing that we see out here. It is all about taking that top step of the podium, taking victory. There are no moral victories when it comes to racing. There is only spraying the champagne.
And this is such an analog car as well, right? 2 hands, 2 feet, those are your driver aids. There's no traction control, ABS to save you from yourself. Richie Hearn in the paddocks was saying he was having fun, got a little bit greedy, enjoyed the setup as well, because I don't think I mentioned this at the start when we talked about the Gomez Sim Industry Series details. Fixed setup through the field, DJ, so there's no tweaking and working away. You deal with what you've got and you get the most out of it.
Yeah, you've just got to tweak and twist and try to work what you can do with your 2 hands and your 2 feet, as you said.
So here we go. Had a handful of cautions, but it's been a green race so far. Can we finish under green, or will the next flag be the yellow before the checkered? So, the pace car will exit stage left. It will be Sean Campbell searching for 3 wins in 3 starts. That will back up the pack and get us going here at the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175. And while for a moment David Rodriguez thought he could get the jump into turn 1, he'll settle for 3rd as they dive through the corner. 9 laps to play. Campbell with a great start.
A fantastic start there from Campbell. The question is it going to last? Is it going to continue to play? We'll have to see here, as here comes his teammate Rodriguez down to the inside.
Crucially, though, it is the teammates that will be able to work together. I think they'd prefer if they ran 1 and 2 rather than Reagan or Fowler being in the mix. Reagan wide through 4 allows Fowler to get up into the podium spot. 1 more lap ticked off the board. 7 to play. Campbell, Rodriguez, Fowler, Reagan, the top 4.
Here they come down out of the corner right now, bringing it back out, and here comes the fan out with 7 to go.
On board with the watchman. Which way will he look? Will he take it 5 wide? He wants to do so, but runs out of room before they get to turn 3. Still Campbell and Rodriguez seem to have found the lines that they can run to control the rhythm of this race, but behind them, the Hornet's Nest builds in intensity. 6 left to play.
Again, Reagan making things work up on the high side there. Keep an eye out for him. Fowler got a little bit close there on that last lap. It looked like he had to duck out of it. Now Cohn's going to try to work up to the high side. Now he's going to try to shoot the gap.
There goes Fowler, though. Will lose the momentum. Cohn in the middle will try and pinch down Rodriguez. Campbell will sweep around the outside and try and regain the race lead. Almost contact between Rodriguez and Cohn, Rodriguez has to get out of that. Now 3 wide for 3rd, but it's Cohn that has the inside into turn 1.
And that is advantage Cohn by Guts, and Guts alone as they work their way through. Look at that, Reagan forced way up high. He's losing all kinds of time.
There is so much tension here, and for Mike Rasmussen, sitting in 6th, the championship leader, what does he think about when he sees 4 wide in front of him as he fights 3 wide? It's Fowler this time that loses out. He makes contact with Reagan. He bounces off the wall. Chaos and a car going over. Yellow will fly as we come across the line with 4 to go. I think we're done. I think Sean Campbell is 3 winners in a row.
I think you're right, Arjuna. My goodness gracious, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that ending.
Tyler Groff mixed up, I think, with Ricky Hardin, straight to the replay machine. It started with Fowler and Reagan with fisticuffs. Then Reagan comes down. Unfortunately, Groff and Hardin with nowhere really left to go. And tears for the likes of Paul Jenkins as well.
Yeah, a tough break there for Paul. He was driving a fantastic race through the field there, working his way around. There's the little bit of contact there that sends Fowler up into the wall, and that's going to be enough. Then Jenkins just comes right down there.
And then if we, I think, switch over to Ricky Harden if we can. That's a great view of Motegi. I'm glad it's I'm glad it's in slow motion, because otherwise I think I'd be feeling a lot more queasy than I am right now.
It's certainly a different view of Motegi than we're used to seeing, I can tell you that.
That's for sure. So, I think we're done. I think Sean Campbell not only has proved me and the doubters wrong by winning on an oval, he continues a streak of 100% success in this Lionheart Retro Series. That is a statement which cannot be trifled with.
No, it certainly is not. Look out, Lionheart Retro. There is a new sheriff in town, and he goes by the name of Sean Campbell.
Imagine if we're saying all this and we then get one lap to go, but I just don't see it. We came across the line, and then the caution came out. We'll tick over to 2 to go next time, and then we should still have the lights on for an additional 2 laps. So I think we're done. I think this is it. But we don't know. That's the excitement about moments like this when cars aren't coming to pit lane. We started with 25, 17 are left on the lead lap. Only Alex Guyon is trundling around 1 lap down right now after being in contention before speeding on pit entry cost him a chance of victory. What a race. Motegi always brings some surprises.
Yeah, it certainly does. Always brings something that we are not ready for, that we are not used to. And look at this here today. It has certainly given us exactly that as we run around, keeping an eye here on that pace car. Are we going to get those lights out by chance? I don't think we are.
I don't think so. I think some way, somehow, it's not how Sean Campbell would have wanted to grab the victory, but a victory is a victory nonetheless. So across the line, 2 to go. Lights are on. I think we can call this one official. Sean Campbell, the winner of the ButtKicker Twin Ring 175, presented by Next Level Racing.
My goodness gracious. We were talking about if he was going to be able to do this at the beginning of the race. We were talking about if he was going to be able to hold this out. His first real test on an oval, and he has delivered.
Such an interesting race, and one that now will definitely replace the memories of 2021, because this was fun. Yes, we had the moments, 4 cautions, yes, but 4 cautions is the fewest number that we've had across of the series history at this track, so it was definitely a lot of fun. Inside of the first, 7 laps, we had 4 or 5 different leaders. It was one of those races where you never knew exactly which direction it was going to go, whether it was with the strategy calls and some staying out when others thought the only call was to come in, or whether it was about pack racing to the very end. Motegi has, both on the road course and now on the oval, delivered for us. And after this, TJ, let's not forget, 4 more races still left to play. Road course, oval, double points to finish the season.
You can't ask for a better run to the end than that, Arjuna. It is going to be spectacular. I know I, for one, am very, very much looking forward to it. And talk about a differing way to end the season in terms of ovals. We go to Gateway, a short oval that you really have got to be careful around, particularly coming down through turn 1 and 2. And then we head to the big, big California beauty that is Fontana.
Immortalized in the virtual world after officially confirmed that it will undergo its renovation to a short track facility beginning later this year. So we always have fun. Multiple line seams that always prove some sort of challenge to cars out there. Last year was a lot of fun trying to just figure out the championship picture as well, as drivers Aaron Morgan and Matt Taylor ended the season, ended at the checkered flag, tied on points. We had to go back to count back, not of victories, but of second places to crown Aaron Morgan our champion. Doesn't look like it will be that close this time around, with Mike Rasmus well and truly in control of the championship, and today showing just why he is the one to beat. End of line penalty, started 24th in the field. Worked his way up more than 18 positions to jump in towards the top 5. It is
A drive worthy of a champion, and while we'll focus on him, the plaudits will go the way of the man that proves the doubters wrong, Sean Campbell. 3 wins in a row. He does it not just on the road courses, he does it on the ovals here today. A new name has emerged in Lionheart Retro Series competition. Welcome to the Sean Campbell Show.
My goodness, and Arjuna, take it from me. It is one thing to win on a single style of racing around here. It is another thing entirely to win it together and to be able to come home for a 1-2 for RSR by ButtKicker. That is no easy feat. Massive, massive here. Congrats to Sean Campbell and David Rodriguez.
It's the icing on the cake, isn't it? Not just the perfect 100% record continuing for Campbell, but the 1 and 2 for Rodriguez, who now continues to build up in the ButtKicker Rookie of the Year points as well. Plenty of photo opportunities to come on this lap. I have no doubt about that one. And Campbell getting rather accustomed to doing burnouts in this car and any car that he competes in. That is a understatement for sure. Campbell is starting to become one of the sim racing elite, I think it's fair to say, competing in the Virtual Le Mans series later, this winter rather. And we'll see plenty more of him on iRacing, of course. But it's dueling burnouts at the line for RSR by ButtKicker. 1 and 2. Sean Campbell, 3 for 3 in his Lionheart Retro Series career. Let's run you down through the starting grid, the finishing results from today's action at Motegi after 113 laps. We do finish under caution, but it's an RSR by ButtKicker 1 and 2 with plenty of burnouts and celebrations at the end of this one. Mark Cohn jumps up to 3rd and gets onto the podium in the Avatar Auto Racing with Graphics LC entry, the number 39, able to work his way forward. The partials run of schedule for Mark Cohn this season. Good to see him back on the podium. David Siroff from pole position, still searching for that elusive victory, but he finishes in 4th in front of Mike Rasmus, the biggest mover of the field. Behind him, Craig Forsyth and Chris Fowler, with Reagan, Daniels and Herrick ending the top 10. As we cycle through, just 6 more cars on the lead lap. George Anzaldo, Trevor Malone, Gary Godso, Hugo Gallus, Danny Roberts and Rodrigo Munoz, while Tyler Graf and Alex Guyon finished 1 lap down after Tyler Graf was involved in the final incident of the race that brought out the caution that ended our event. Ricky Harden and Paul Jenkins bookend the top 20, with Richie Hearn, Matt Taylor, Luis Gonzalez, Nunez, Robert Mikes and Adam Fraser the rest of the field. Heartbreak for the likes of Hearn, Taylor and Nunez, but it will be Taylor that hurts the most when it comes to the championship equation. That leads us into our HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. We'll give it a moment for Sean Campbell to emerge from the joy of HyperX Victory Lane to come and talk to us in the RaceSpot TV commentary booth. But DJ Clark, as we look back on the event that we just had, what a way to put the memories of 2021 firmly in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, indeed. We talked a little bit about the caution fest that was last time out, the big one that took out the majority of the field, and having a fantastic run like this. A lot of good, close, fair, clean green flag racing. Absolutely incredible.
We had strategy calls for a while that looked like it would define the race. Then it was the cautions that ended up defining the race. What a fun one it was. And now very curious how Sean Campbell will do at Montreal in a couple of weeks' time. We still wait for Sean Campbell, so we'll go in reverse order. Let's bring on in the watchman Mark Cohn, who's standing by with DJ Clark.
Mark, a great run there for you, up 1 position on the day. Talk to me a little bit, though, about the strategy in the race. Were you trying to fight your way up to the front the entire time, or was there a little bit of a hold back and wait?
Oh, man. Well, first off, got to thank the team, Graphics LC Motorsports, Mike, Tyler, Chris, they're all awesome. And yeah, that restart, unfortunately, we just got spread out and we were in the second pack. We just had to save. And it looked really bad towards the end because we were going to have to stop one more time. But then the caution came out. We were able to pit and then send it.
Well, send it indeed. You were able to get yourself down there and into the corner, and now, I mean, walking away here with the 3rd place. Talk to me about the rest of the season. What are you feeling out in these last couple of races? Are you focused on trying to get podiums away or working on the team and being able to hold on to that championship?
Just want to support my teammates the best I can. As far as for me, I'm not racing for points. The road courses we're going to hang on, and the ovals we're going to go for. Checkers or wreckers.
Checkers or wreckers. I love it, my friend. I love it. Go for it indeed. But on the day here, you know the drill. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this incredible third place?
Absolutely. As I said, the team, Graphics LC Motorsports. Graphics makes these sexy race cars. Mizumi Studios, love their watches. And lastly, SimLab, best cockpit ever. And of course, you guys love being on your broadcasts.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, and congratulations once again. That was Mark Cohn, your third place finisher, and now, Arjuna, I believe you've caught up with our second place finisher, David Rodriguez.
I did. It was a 13th top 5 finish for Mark Cohn, but for David Rodriguez, it is a 6th top 5 finish in his 22nd career start. And David, I mean, let's start with the day for the team, 1 and 2, and looking like, for the most part, you had some sort of control on the race, whether it was strategy or pace.
Yeah, we definitely had a good strategy. We decided to pit early to get shorter fuel at the end of the race, and it was working out for the most part. We definitely wish that caution didn't come out towards like the middle of the race. That would have, because if not, we would have just set sail to the end, just the two of us. So, but at the end, it was really fun. The end of the race was great. It was fantastic. I had a lot of fun.
So you're saying you were good on fuel without the cautions having come out? Because it still was like a 47 lap run for you in that final, 45 rather, lap run for you in the final stint.
No, we still had to. We would have probably had to pit, but like very, very small amount of fuel. We would have had a really short pit stop. So, yeah.
Interesting. I love these sort of races. How do you as a team as well, when you've got two cars that work together in these sort of pack races, what sort of communication do you have to feed each other draft and to say, you go this way, you zig, I'll zag?
Yeah, it's exactly what you just said. We were just talking nonstop in the race of like where we should be placing our cars, and specifically at the end of the race, we were mostly going 3 wide into turns 3 and 4, and it was just like, okay, I'm gonna go up here and you go down here, and it's just like we were just constantly communicating the entire time.
Well, it paid off. Only 2 cars, but I mean 1 and 2, it doesn't get much better than that. We'll switch from David Rodriguez, a great run for him to get up into second, to the man that's now got a 100% record in this Lionheart Retro Series and has done it on the ovals as well. Sean Campbell, what was it like here at Motegi? Your first time with this Lotus 79 on the oval in the competitive environment, and looks like you were right at home.
Yeah. It's great, right? Twin Ring Oval is awesome. I'm very glad to get a win there.
How much oval experience do you have, Sean? Because you are a very experienced road racer, and when it comes to iRating, you are by no means a low-ranked oval driver, but I can't imagine you've done too much of it, especially in this car.
Not in this car, but back in the day, like I'm talking like 2015, 2016, oval is all I would do.
Interesting, very interesting. And of course, we're used to you winning at this point on racespottv, but we mentioned, of course, that you're very busy this winter, branching out on other platforms and basically getting stuck into anything and everything you can where there's competition you find interesting.
Yeah, it's good variety, right? It's fun to drive a bunch of different cars. You learn a bunch of different things about each car, and sometimes it translates between each car in the way that they drive.
Sean Campbell, 3 in a row. Congratulations on the great run, Sean. We'll see you in a couple of weeks in October from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve to see if you can keep this up.
All right.
Target on the back of Sean Campbell. Delighted, of course, as always, to chat with all 3 of our drivers on the podium as that wraps up our post-race interviews. But DJ, before we say goodbye, of course, it is about round 15 of 18. We're in the closing stages. The final chapters are to be written, and the next one takes us north of the border to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal. It's a challenging track, and drivers will be looking to avoid running into the wall of champions. But with recent updates, this track has become even more difficult with track limits.
Yeah, it certainly has. The track limits coming through the chicanes on the back half of the circuit can definitely come to bite you out, as well as the run down through Quebec, that chicane before the Wall of Champions. That can really throw you out with the track limits, so you've got to be very, very careful, and I think it's going to be a fine precision drive that is going to see the driver who gets on the top step.
And I think we're in for the kind of race as well where it will be attrition that plays a big part. I still think strategy will have something to play as well. Quick look at the series schedule brought to you by Next Level Racing before we say goodbye as well. Again, Road Oval, back-to-back in October, one race in November, and then the final Lionheart race of 2022 is the showdown for the Retro Series in Fontana. And that is always a special place to close things out, DJ.
Yes, it is, Arjuna. One of my personal favorite tracks in the world. I've had the joy of not only being able to go and witness a couple of races there, I've had the joy of being able to drive there before. Yeah, it is fantastic, and love to see that it will be continued to be keeping on here in the sim in its traditional 2-mile format.
Yeah, and we're going to have fun on the Saturday building up to the Retro Series Showdown. It's the Gomez Sim Industries Race for the Championship presented by Jewers Candy. Round 22 of the 2022 Lionheart IndyCar Series. So plenty, of course, left to go on the run to the end. Before we say goodbye, we say thank you to those that make all of this possible, starting with the title sponsor of the 2022 Lionheart Retro Series, Next Level Racing, an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer devoted to creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit nextlevelracing.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com.
You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can feel what it's actually like to drive a race car with ButtKicker haptic hardware and software. They are easy to install and let you feel every bump of the track, slip of the tire, and engine redline. The tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before.
Moser Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, Moser Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane.
Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Precision-built using nothing but the best materials available today, passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com.
And it's not just them, but so many more that make this all possible. To learn more about the partners of the Lionheart Racing Series, or to learn about the 3 competitions the sanctioning body puts on, head on over to Lionheart Racing Series. And don't forget to stay tuned on social media for the latest news from within the virtual paddock. That is going to wrap things up, though, here today from Twin Ring Motegi. A beautiful doubleheader of racing action, showing the diversity of this Lotus 79. We can take it oval racing, we can take it road racing as well. One thing is for sure, Sean Campbell is the man to beat for the rest of 2022. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time as we head over north of the border to the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Gomez Sim Industries Grand Prix of Montreal, presented by simrace247.com. Plenty more action, of course, to come, though, in Lionheart competition before we get to the middle of October. Don't forget the likes of the Lionheart Speedway Series as it heads to Richmond and the middle of October, but before that, a couple of rounds of the Lionheart IndyCar Series. First, the Moser Racing Grand Prix of Barbara, presented by Gomez Sim Industries, and then the Next Level Racing Milwaukee 200, presented by ButtKicker. We'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. For everyone at racespottv, for my co-commentator and DJ Clark, my name is Arjuna Kankipati, signing off from the land of the rising sun, where we are witnessing the birth of a sensation. Welcome to the Sean Campbell Show, the Lionheart Retro Series. We'll see you from Montreal in a couple of weeks' time. For now, we say so long and goodbye. We'll see you next time on RaceSpot TV.